Welcome back, guys. Hope you guys liked our content and our thoughts on UFC 299. Vegas kind of reworking the NHL rule book in their favor, and the NFL free agency period, which has continued to be absolutely crazy. Justin Fields got traded over the weekend. That was probably one of the biggest moves I think we saw. Um, More or less, a more surprising thing was the price that ended up. I guess he ended up going for. I think it was a 2025 sixth, but could be up to a four. Today, it's going to be real quick. You guys are going to be seeing this Monday. Um, Brackets came out last night. We're going to talk about these real quick. Normal episode will come out Wednesday still. We just figured, hey, a lot to cover with these brackets. Make a little special here real quick. And yeah, we'll get you on your way. Joe, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, man. So, what a start to March. This is what we call March Madness. Basketball fans, rejoice. Even sports fans, even if you're not a fan of basketball, rejoice. It is going to be one hell of a tournament. I'm excited. Great basketball this week in the tournaments. Got a lot of upsets. I think there's going to be a lot more of that coming on. The first four start on Tuesday. I think the tournament starts on Thursday. So, super jacked and tan for that. What were your thoughts on the weekend?
Um, no, you were just down here for the weekend, and it's nice to be able to spend the weekend with you. It's a great time. Um, the basketball was great. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I could not. I mean, it was kind of like a sit on the couch weekend. I mean, from Friday night to Sunday morning, um, when we had those late games on, I think we had Florida Auburn on this morning. Um, that was a somewhat good one. Feel bad for the Florida guy who broke his leg. Thoughts and prayers to him and his family. Fast recovery there. But I mean, I think 21 non-one seeds won their conference tournaments, which is absolutely wild. I mean, you had NC State winning the ACC, not something anyone would have seen. If you're a sports bettor and you've sprinkled some money on that, you're probably feeling pretty good right now.
Most sports bettors are not feeling very good right
No,
now.
uh, unless you're clinically insane or delusional, you are feeling pretty bad about this past weekend. Um, I mean, Oregon winning the Pac-12. I mean, that didn't really come as a very foreseeable thing, um, especially when they beat Arizona. That was a huge win. We'll see how that carries over. But Joey, what were you gonna say?
So, I heard this stat earlier. Four teams that would not have gotten at-large bids won their conference tournaments and got in. That's insane, dude. I think NC State was one of them. I think Oregon was one of them. And I mean, you look at Brown. They were 13 and 17 and almost beat Yale to get into the tournament. That's insane, dude. The parity we have in college basketball and the transfer portal and NIL need to be controlled. But the amount of parity we're getting in college athletics now is absolutely insane. And it's better for the fan because I wouldn't be shocked if we see a 16 to 1 upset. I would not be surprised. I don't think I picked any of those, but I would not be surprised. I don't
Just just looking at the bracket, I don't I could see. I think it's a lot more reasonable to see a 15-2 upset. I don't see a 16-1 upset. A lot of these teams, I think UConn was the only one seed to win their tournament. A lot of these teams are going to come out looking for vengeance. Um, I think my biggest thing though, uh, Wisconsin when they beat Purdue, um, I think it was in the semifinals, and then losing to Illinois. I think that loss to Illinois is going to end up draining them. But I mean, that was a heck of a run by Wisconsin. I think they were what, a five seed,
in the I think
Big
so.
Ten. Yeah.
Think
So
so.
it was just
I mean,
it.
You've seen a lot of teams going on a run. Like Mississippi State played their way into the tournament. If Ohio State would have beaten Illinois, they might have played their way into the tournament. Um, Trying to see who else off the top of my head.
You,
Texas
you,
A&M played themselves into a spot. Obviously, NC State did. Um, and a lot of teams played themselves down seeds. Duke, I think they played themselves down. Kentucky. A lot of the top SEC teams did not look good to me this weekend.
No,
And
but the SEC did fill in 8 teams into the bracket, which tied with the Big 12 for first. But it'll be interesting to see how many of those teams fall in the first and second round. Um, I mean, just looking at my bracket, I was able to fill one out earlier today, kind of as the selecting wrapped up. My final four has Iowa State, Arizona, Kansas, and Kentucky.
I got I got UConn, Mississippi State, and on for the West and the East, and then in the Midwest and South, I got NC State and Tennessee.
But I mean, just looking at
Um,
it, like my
do,
my my Elite Eight has like I mean Alabama. I have a South Carolina in there,
Me too.
Kentucky. So I mean, there's a couple SEC teams I could see just with the way things fell. There's a shot they go, but I mean, there's also a shot South Carolina could lose to Oregon in the first round. I mean, I hate to say that being a South Carolina fan going to school here, but I just don't know. I
Where's that
mean,
game at? Do you know where that game's at?
um, it might be in Omaha and Creighton.
It's Midwest.
Oh, it's in
So,
Pittsburgh at PPG Paints Arena. Um,
where do you
no,
see
I
that
guess
at?
if you get
PBJ Paints. I see
yeah.
it.
So, I very well could see Oregon doing it. I like the way South Carolina plays defense. I think that's ultimately what's going to end up carrying South Carolina through the tournament. Um, Michi Johnson needs to be able to shoot the three ball. He did not shoot well against Auburn. Um, he's played well all season. I will give him credit. He has been the reason him, Colin Murray Boyles, and BJ Mack, I would say it's probably South Carolina's big three. Um, Talon Cooper has played fantastic. He's been another big reason we've been able to pull off upsets against Kentucky, against Tennessee. But after watching that game against Auburn, I am not sure what to expect coming into the first round. I think South Carolina is going to be the team that's going to bust a lot of people's brackets, whether or not they go deep into the tournament and people had them losing in the first round, or everyone's going to have them going to like the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16, but then they're going to end up losing to Oregon.
The only thing that scares me with South Carolina is I got 4 losses pulled up right now. You only scored 47 points against Alabama in January. You only scored 61 points against Auburn when they dropped 100 on you. You only scored 59 against Tennessee. And you only scored 55 against Auburn just recently. So that's the thing that worries me is, are they going to be able to score when it matters? I don't know if Oregon's going to be able to hold them, but I mean Creighton and Akron in the round two. Creighton's a good basketball team. So is Akron. I think Akron's a good basketball team too. So either one of
I,
those teams I don't think are a great draw for South Carolina either.
I mean, of course, I'd like the Akron draw more. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think they should have been in the tournament. I think they kind of got in off that fluke from Kent State, I believe is who it was. I think it was Kent
They
State and
played their
Akron.
way in because they won their conference though.
Yeah, but they won it off of Kent State fouling on I don't, it was an intentional foul. Like he went and fouled him, and it was a big mental mistake. Only being up one with like what 4 or 5 seconds left, guy ended up making both free throws to send Akron to the tourney. Um, so we'll see. But I mean, South Carolina's been able to, with the exception of the Auburn games, who this year were just our bad draw. Um, I mean, the Tennessee. You brought up
Auburn's
the
just a
score for
bad matchup.
you brought up the score of the Tennessee game. That was like a 5 or 6 point game. It went down to the wire. They made free throws at the end, so it was like we got outscored by 30 there because both. I mean, when we played in Rocky Top, we held Tennessee to 59. So I just that one. I think when you look at South Carolina scores this year, or when you look ahead to the tournament, a lot of them are going to be lower scoring games just because they use up so much of the shot clock on offense. But then they will make you go deep into your own shot clock when they're on defense and you're trying to score.
South Carolina likes to slow it down. You run into a team that can speed it up, and Auburn had dictated the pace both the last two times they played South Carolina, which has made that game so bad. It really depends on how much you can dictate. The other team whoever can dictate the pace.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm worried about. Do you want to rattle off these brackets real quick?
I'd say just go through bigger games that you have.
All right.
So, for instance,
Mississippi State and Michigan State. I don't think Michigan State should have gotten in. I've got my own opinions about that, but I mean, both those teams. I mean, Mississippi State played their way into a much better spot throughout the SEC tournament. I think Mississippi State's hot right now. Didn't they lose in the semis? They lost in the semis, didn't they? Yeah, they lost to Auburn.
Yeah.
They lost to Auburn yesterday.
I think my, I don't want to say like guaranteed, but I think the upset is the most likable for sports bettors and alike is going to be JMU and Wisconsin. I think JMU is going to run Wisconsin out the house. I think, and I mentioned it earlier on, Wisconsin beat Purdue. They're able to pull off the upset. I think losing to Iowa drains them. JMU, I think, is like 30-3. They had that big win over Michigan State in East Lansing earlier in the year. So I think that was like the season opener. But crazy year for JMU sports in general. I think they're going to end up pulling it off. If they do, I mean, that's a tough draw, and like Duke possibly in the second round. I don't see JMU being able to pull that off. But I think JMU going to the second round this year, I think would be a win of itself. Build on that momentum, carry it into next year. Another one of my big games, McNeese State and Gonzaga. Gonzaga, I think, has had, comparatively to previous years, a down year. And then McNeese State has come in with one of the, I think it was the biggest turnaround in college basketball this past year. I think they're also up there with 28, 29 wins, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. But I don't like the draw for Gonzaga. I think McNeese State has the ability to shoot the three ball very well while also having some very capable bigs on the inside.
I like Gonzaga in that game right now. We'll see when it comes tourney time. When it comes on that's a Thursday game, yeah. Shoot. But I like that draw for Gonzaga right now. But we will see. I just messed up my bracket.
So NC State, I think we can both agree on, and the NC State Texas Tech game, I don't see any way Texas Tech wins that. Just with how hot
NC State's
was.
so hot right now.
I mean,
I got NC State in my Final Four. I love NC State right now.
I mean, they went through Duke, North Carolina, somehow got by Virginia on that buzzer beater, and then controlled that game in overtime. But I mean, that was the Cinderella story in the ACC. I think it was kind of similar to the run that Virginia Tech had. I can't remember if it was last year or if it was 2 years ago. It was very recent though, and so I saw that compared. I don't know if you want to say comparatively or similarly, but again, I don't know how hot NC State's going to be able to stay going because I mean that was 5 games in 5 days. And so I don't know. They get a little bit of a break. I don't know if they cool off a little bit, but I think they beat Texas Tech pretty good. But then just looking at it moving forward. Oh, well, where are they?
They got Kentucky if they win.
Yeah,
they got the winner of Kentucky and Oakland.
I could see NC State winning that. I personally picked Kentucky, but
Kentucky can't play defense.
no,
It's the
and
same
that's
problem Alabama has. There's a reason those two teams lost early in the SEC tournaments because they can't play defense.
and I
I
think
got
that's what
Alabama losing in the first round. I got Kentucky losing to NC State. I don't trust any of these teams. I don't trust Duke. I think Duke's soft. I got Duke losing to JMU. I think the South Division's gonna have quite a few upsets. I got upsets all over my bracket. And I'm obviously gonna make like 10 more or whatever, but this is the one I like right now.
so I think, and you talked about Texas A&M kind of being hot, them and Mississippi State being hot and playing themselves into a pretty decent spot in the tournament.
Yeah, you're
I
I think they're a non-seed.
Yes, they are. They play Nebraska first, so I think Texas A&M will be
That's
able
a
to hand.
bad draw.
I think I
Nebraska
think
can shoot.
I think Texas A&M has got it though. I think with how hot they were, I can't remember who they lost to in the SEC. I think it was Florida. But I think they were also in the semis. But I think
I think
A&M,
so.
I think A&M, should they beat Nebraska, has a chance to go and then beat Houston, which would be, I mean, I hope that game is played somewhere in Texas. I doubt it, though. It's probably going to be up north somewhere.
Well, the
Memphis.
Nebraska A&M game is in Tennessee.
Yeah, I think both those games are in Tennessee. They're somewhat close, but if they play that in Texas, battle of the two Texas teams there, um, I mean that's kind of it for my bigger matchups. I think if there's one year where it's going to be true madness, I think this year is going to be the year. I think just looking at it, I think there's a lot of these top seeds that we saw earlier this year have problems with defense that you saw very commonly in the SEC. Um, and then you see teams like Duke, who just couldn't really handle adversity very well, in my opinion. Um, you had the upset against Wake Forest. You couldn't beat North Carolina, and so I mean, it was just when the moment got big. I didn't see Duke really doing too much.
Duke's gotten bullied. Filipowski's gotten bullied. Like I don't like the way Duke's playing right now. I think they're having Coach K with Jaws right now, but I mean we'll see. I got them beating Vermont, but I do not have them getting past JMU. And even if Wisconsin wins that game, I don't have them getting past Wisconsin.
So that was a little bit on the men's team. The women's team, or not the women's team, but the women's bracket has some very interesting matchups and some very interesting, call it regional, like the regional, like the quarters on the bracket. Um, my biggest and I think most entertaining thing to watch will be to see who comes out of the second region with Iowa, UCLA, LSU, and Colorado, who I believe at all four of those teams at some point throughout this year were ranked in the top four. Um, I'm pretty sure Colorado got up there to top three. I think UCLA got up to a two spot at one time. Of course, Iowa is currently the number two team. And then LSU, I think, started off the year at number one. So I think there's going to be a lot of good basketball there. It'll be interesting to see personally who comes out of that. But personally, being a South Carolina fan, I'm glad that we wouldn't have to see any of those teams till a national championship, should we make it there. I think looking at that first region, I think it's going to end up being Notre Dame and South Carolina in the Elite Eight, which would be a very interesting matchup. Speaking that the first time they played each other back in the first game of the season, back in I think it was November, South Carolina won by 29, which is very surprising to a lot of people. I think it was a top 10 matchup back then. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think the women's tournament won't necessarily, I'm not going to say it's not going to be as entertaining. There'll still be good basketball going on. But I think with how high octane and how upset prone a lot of these teams in the men's bracket are going to be, I think that the men's bracket might get so much, like there's such potential for there to be so many viewers watching a lot of these upsets. especially when you get like JMU going. If you get them to get to the Sweet 16, kind of like the 2017 Gamecock run that we had, um, I, I'm stoked. It's going to be a great week of basketball, a great couple weeks of basketball.
I will say about the women's, don't watch it until the Elite Eight. The some of these teams are going to murder each other. South
Yeah,
Carolina is going to murder every single team they play until the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. USC is going to murder everyone they play. Iowa's going to murder everyone they play. I do think a USC Ohio State matchup for the women's would be interesting. I'm an Ohio State fan, but I do not watch a lot of women's basketball. But so we'll see. I'll probably watch the championship, and that's about it. To be honest, I'm going to be smothered and covered in the men's tournament.
that is a fair thing to say. Um, I like the prospect. I think I'm looking at the South Carolina schedule right now. Um, so we did play Presbyterian, who could be a possible draw. And you talk about teams murdering other teams. When we played Presbyterian earlier in the year, and this is in women's basketball, take a wild guess at what the final score was.
100 to like 12.
99 to 29.
See, I wasn't that far off. Just
Um,
listen to this real quick. So, in the men's tournament, the most picked champions, UConn at 26%, Houston at 12%, and UNC at 11.4%. Now, when you go to the women's, most picked champions, 36.4 have South Carolina, 32.8 have Iowa, and then 5% for LSU. That's
I,
insane.
I
That
don't I
is
don't think
insane.
I don't think LSU is going to make it past. I don't think LSU is going to be able to beat UCLA. Um, yeah, and even if they beat UCLA, I don't see them beating either Colorado or Iowa. I think I think Iowa's got problems with depth. I don't know because they've had problems in the Big Ten. Of course, they lost to Iowa or not Iowa State, um, Ohio State, and
Yeah,
then Nebraska there at the end, where it went into overtime. I just Caitlin Clark, I think, has really been kind of like carrying. But how are the especially when it comes into big games and Caitlin Clark goes cold, which I'm pretty sure she had done against Nebraska in that Big Ten tournament there in the first half. If Caitlin Clark goes cold, who's going to step up and who's going to be able to kind of hold off the other team until Caitlin can get hot and start firing from everywhere again?
you ready for this answer? Nobody. Iowa doesn't have depth in women's basketball.
And I think
Anyways,
that's what's made South Carolina so great, though, is the ability to pull people off the bench and not have a drop in production. But back to the men's tournament because there's still a lot to cover there. Um, who could just off the top of your head? I think you've had a little bit more time to look at the bracket now that you're home. Who off the top of your head could you see being like a dark horse or like a lower seed with the best shot to win, like a 5+ seed?
I like NC State. I like Dayton. I think Dayton's going to be good, but they got a bad draw with Nevada. I like Nevada too. Um, I like uh, I like New Mexico too, even though I got Baylor beating them in the second round. Um, there's a lot of these teams like these mid-major teams that are going, and this is the recipe you need. You need a big and you need old experienced guards. A lot of these mid-major teams are going to have that, which is why teams like 1 through 4 seeds are going to get an upset left and right. And that's what worries me about a lot of these teams. I like Tennessee just because they got their walking bucket and they're getting help from the periphery. But I I don't trust Purdue. I got Purdue losing to Gonzaga in the Sweet 16. We'll see. I don't even know if Purdue will make it that far. Um, I I like JMU as well. There's a lot of, and there's going to be some mid-major team that you've never heard of, like Duquesne or Drake or Charleston. Like, there's going to be some of these teams that make an Elite Eight run. Like, who was it? What was the team that beat Ohio State a couple years ago that no one had ever heard of? Oral Roberts. That's who it was. Like, you're gonna
And I
see
think
one of the. I think you're gonna see one of those type of runs.
so. I think, and especially if you look back to last year's Final Four, if I'm not mistaken, it was Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, Miami, and UConn. I think Miami is my one questionable, and I don't know if they were in
I
it.
don't think Miami made it last year.
Who is that? Because I've got three. I think it was Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, UConn. But who did UConn beat?
I don't know. I'm looking it up right now. Oh, you're right. It
Um,
was Miami. It was
so it was Miami.
FAU. It was FAU, San Diego State, UConn, and Miami, and
Look at
all of
that.
them were a 4 seed and lower.
So I think I think we're gonna get something similar to that. I don't have a single one seed. I like Iowa State a lot. Um, just with what they were able
After
to
they
do.
just put a
They
beat
dis
down on Houston,
dismantled Houston.
dismantled. Like, I think Houston had like what, 40 points?
I think they got held to under, I think it was under 25 points for the first time in a half all season.
Yeah,
So
that's insane. I like UConn and Tennessee. Tennessee or UConn are going to lose in the first couple days to bust my bracket, but I mean, I I got a question for you. Over or under one day that there's a bracket left.
you're saying like
Like a perfect bracket. Do you think anyone's bracket makes it through the first day? Through Thursday?
oh
Last year, I
God,
don't think anyone's
no,
did.
no,
Me neither.
not with not with what like the draws were for this year. Um, I think if there's going to be one guy that misses with one game, I think that one game he's going to miss on is going to be that South Carolina Oregon game. Um, Again, I think South Carolina is going to be the bracket buster for this year. They're either everyone's going to pick them and they're going to lose, or no one's going to pick them and they're going to go um, Sweet 16, Elite Eight kind of run.
Look, if I can make it through, I get off of work at 3. If I can make it till I get off work, I will be happy. Because I think the game started at like 11 Eastern.
I mean, was watching some of the parlays, or not parlays, but like the picks we had for this past week, especially in hockey. Oh, I mean, we got beat pretty bad there. I think we went 5-4-1 with our one push being the Miami Marlins, who unfortunately they don't have extra innings in spring training, but the one chance I'd actually take them money line in the against the Phillies this year, they tied and pushed. So not happy about that. But I did say Scotty Scheffler, top five at the Players. He ended up repeating. He won it last year, won it again this year. So that was awesome. But yeah, I mean, we
You're
I think we
up.
did.
You're up quite a few units after that
Yeah,
Scotty pick. You're up.
yeah.
You're up a couple units.
I think I went 4-1 with my picks last week. But I mean,
And I'm a little cold. I'm a little cold this month.
it,
It's not going too well.
it's a team effort. So again, 5-4-1. But
Well, it would help if two Vasa could win a fight.
okay, we'll talk about this Wednesday. But that was not pretty. Um, but yeah, I think that's about all that we have for the bracket coverage. Again, we'll touch on it a little bit more Wednesday. We will be hosting a, I don't know if you want to call it a tournament or a challenge. It's free to enter. First place gets a $35 gift card to the Nutrasave website store. So you can get protein, other supplements. We have pre-workout coming here very, very soon. Be on the lookout for that. Go follow at Nutrasave Fitness. Be able to get some sneak peeks of that coming again very soon. And then second place will get a free T-shirt of choice from the website. So if you want free stuff, go make sure to enter. There are some rules. You must be following the podcast, and that's a big one. Of course, we're kind of putting it on. Um, and then you have to be following the Nutrasave Fitness Instagram account, and then go like to be able to get. So it's gonna be like a locked bracket. You have to have a password enter. Go to the website, and it'll be right front and center by the time you guys see this. Um, but just go like check out with that. It'll be free. There won't be any cost, but that allows us to go and verify that you're following us. And then we can send you the code to go and then enter in. Again, completely free to enter. Make sure you're following at Nutrasave Fitness. That's, I guess, our namesake for the podcast. And then follow at Nutrasave Podcast. That's all you guys got to do. Go pick your best bracket. Um, Again, first place, $35 gift card. Second place gets a free T-shirt. A lot of good ones out there. More coming soon. So another episode coming Wednesday. Not entirely sure what we're going to be covering yet, but there's a lot more NFL free agency out there that we got
There's
to
a
touch on.
lot to cover. There's a lot to cover, and we're gonna smother and cover you in it. Like,
Yeah.
subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever it's called. Subscribe to the YouTube. Go follow the Nutrasave Fitness account on Instagram, X, all that stuff. Follow the podcast. Leave some comments on these reels too, and these videos. Help that algorithm out. We're trying to get to like 3 trillion subscribers by the end of the week. So I think it's a solid goal to set. Yeah, so if y'all could help us out with that, get the algorithms going. Appreciate all the love and support, and we'll be right back here on Wednesday.
Yep.